youth, and maybe a playmaker on two is exactly what the Eagles need this offseason.
Yo, everybody, how you doing? King Dingbat here. So today we have come with the hell is that? It's a big ass dog. Dallas still stinks.
Yo, everybody, nowhere. King Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. You know, this offseason is going to be crazy. There is going to be a lot of changes for the Eagles. Hell, there's going to be a lot of changes in the whole NFC East. All the other teams just hired new coaches, and I think it's very interesting. I really do. It's really interesting, some of the hires that have taken place. One of the things I find very interesting about the NFL, and I kind of don't like it, okay, this is just a personal opinion. It seems like these teams, all they like to ever do is recycle the same coaches. You know, a coach is here for 10 years, for 5 years, then he gets fired. Maybe for a year he goes and he's a coordinator somewhere, then he's a coach again. And usually it never pans out. It never, ever works, okay? And one of the hardest things you see with coaches is when you get a coach who is a Super Bowl champion coach on another team. It is very rare, and you could tell me, I mean, there may be one or two instances, but they don't go to another team and then win another Super Bowl. It's very, very rare. You could have been a coach on another team and then got fired and went to a new team and win a Super Bowl. That has happened. But it's very, very, very unlikely that you're going to win a Super Bowl on two different teams. It just doesn't happen. And when I look at these coaches, you know, we look at the Dallas Cowboys first. Now, I had some fun with the Dallas Cowboy fans yesterday. I posted something because I couldn't get a video. I just had to take a little dig, just had to troll them a little bit. They're freaking out. They're freaking out. Mike McCarthy, the greatest coach ever, already, the best coach in the division, all this kind of stuff. Well, here's my thoughts on Mike McCarthy. And this is the truth. He is a good coach. I think he's a good coach. I think there's no question about it. I think he's a big upgrade over Jason Garrett for sure. That said, he's also, in my opinion, a underachieving coach. He is an underachiever. He had Aaron Rodgers. Aaron stinking Rodgers. And he could only win one Super Bowl. That's unacceptable. You got to do better. Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback. You got to win at least two with him. And he couldn't. And when Aaron Rodgers, the times that he was out, Mike McCarthy could not get that team to play. He could not get that team. And yeah, they had some pretty bad backup players. But he couldn't do what the Eagles did when they had all their injuries, right? Quarterback is hard. Aaron Rodgers, they put a lot of stock. And I want to see is, did Mike McCarthy, was he just a good coach? Or did he get carried by Aaron Rodgers? I think that's a fair question. I do think he's a good coach. I think he'll be good with Dallas. Will he be good enough to win a Super Bowl with them, being one of the only few coaches ever, really, ever, to basically win a Super Bowl title on two different teams? I can't think of many coaches that did that. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, he's a good coach. I can't kill the Cowboys on the hire. Of course, their problem is they have Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones gets his foot and bothers the coaches with everything, right? He's already telling him who his offensive corner has to be. So, you know what I mean? Shut the hell up out there. I'm filming. Thank you. Now, when you look at the Redskins, they went ahead and hired Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera I like very much. He was a former coach on Andy Reid's on one of Andy Reid's teams with the Eagles. He did a great job in Carolina. He was there a long time, and he got to the Super Bowl but never won. And it's going to be very interesting to see what he does. I like him. The whole thing with the Redskins is he's got to deal with another dingbat owner. He's going to have to deal with a dingbat owner. So we'll see how it works out for him for sure. In my opinion, I think that Ron Rivera is a good choice. But like I said, when you look at Rivera, when you look at McCarthy, they're just recycled coaches. They're just recycling coaches. That's what the NFL does. It's like inbred royal families. That's what they do. Now, when you speak to the Giants coach and their hire, this is the one I like the best. Sorry, I can't talk. the one I like the best. I actually like this move by the Giants. Now, I don't know anything about this dude, Joe Judge. And I see a lot of people killing the Giants about hiring this unknown guy. And in my opinion, I learned my lesson with this, right? I was so mad when the Eagles hired Doug Peterson. Because I was like, no other team was looking at hiring Doug Peterson, and Howie is just trying to implement a coach that basically will never challenge him again, and that's why he hired Doug. And I didn't like the hiring, and I was very hard on Doug in 2016. You can see in the NFL film show they did with me yelling at him, but he turned out to be a good coach. Sometimes with these guys, you don't know what you're going to get. And this guy, by all accounts, he sounds like he's got, he's young. He sounds like he's got a good mind for football. Sounds like Belichick thought highly of him. And if I'm one of those three teams, I would be the most excited about this guy. I know it's hard when you don't know him, but I rather see, and I think it's more likely to see a young coach rise up, go and win a Super Bowl, somebody out of nowhere, than one of these recycled coaches that already won and they've had their day in the sun, or a guy that's just going to another team that can never really get over the top. I think, basically, I kind of like the Giants. I kind of like the signing the best. Now, it's the most risky. He could be a disaster. I have no idea. I am not going to make fun of the Giants. I'm not going to laugh at them because I don't know. I really don't know. But I like the balls of the move. I like the balls of the move because it's a ballsy move. So you got to give Giants credit for that. Now, let's get to the Eagles. Because why? Because that's what matters most. Let's face it. Now, Doug Peterson. Him and Howie Roseman had a press conference today. It was very, very interesting and very telling, in my opinion. Some of the things that I didn't like hearing out of it, the main thing was when Doug Peterson said, Mike Rowe will be back. And when he said that, my heart dropped. But I got to tell you, I think he spoke too soon. Because later in that press conference, he kind of walked it back. He kind of walked it back a little bit. So I'm not so sure what's going to happen there. Well, I want to wait and see, I personally think Groh has to go. I want to see him go. I want to see him gone. Howie Roseman took responsibility for this team not being better, not having guys, and I respect that. I respect it. I can say, all right, Howie, you manned up, you took it, now go fix it. Go fix it. Because we know he can do it. We've seen him do it before. But now it's his time, it's his turn this offseason to get the right pieces in here. And he talked about having a hard time letting go of the guys he drafts. And this is something we've known for a long time. I've said this, where he goes too long before he's willing to say, all right, this guy ain't good enough, and it hurts us. So he's got to get rid of some of these guys. He's got to cut the fat and get younger. But he seems to acknowledge it. I'm good with it. I'm like, all right, Howie, cool, we're good. You manned up. Now let's move forward. Now, when you look at this team, in my opinion, you need youth, you need speed, you need a lot of both. Okay, and there's going to be an infusion of young guys. He even said that, and I like hearing that. And I think that goes a long way with this team getting so banged up all the time. I think the age is a factor. It's not the only factor. Some of the young guys got hurt too, but I think it's a big factor. And getting younger is essential. And when I look at this team, okay, some of the guys I think have to go, and this, whether their contracts are up or they're not, I think some of these guys have to go. Okay, let's start with offense. So on offense, I think Jason Peters has to go. Unless Peter's willing to take a backup role or move inside to left guard. That's the only two ways I would consider keeping him. Otherwise, he's got to go. Dillard has to be my starting left tackle starting the year next year. He's a first-round pick. You can't waste 2 seasons having him on the bench. So that's the first thing. The second one, of course, Nelson Aguilar. Pack your bags, buddy. See you later. He's a free agent. Let him go. Alshon Jeffrey. Now, Howie spoke glowingly of Alshon Jeffrey. Talked about how he had like 7, 8 catches, whatever it was, in the Miami game. And I don't get the feeling the Eagles are going to get rid of him. And I think this is a mistake. I think it's a mistake, especially if he's one of the anonymous sources, which everybody seems to think he is. I don't think we need that. I don't think we need that attitude in the locker room, but I don't really know if he is or isn't. But I just think him coming off a Liz Frank injury next year, being, 30 years old now, or whatever it is, he looked slow as hell last year. He looked heavy last year, and I think that this team needs to get faster. It needs to get more speed. So he has to go. I would get rid of those two guys right away. As far as Jordan Howard is concerned, I would not mind seeing him back, but I'm not going to pay him a lot of money. He'd have to come back cheap, okay? Because I think Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, I want to give this kid Elijah Holyfield some snaps to see what he can do. Maybe you draft a little bigger back. Maybe you bring in a free agent guy on the cheap, but I don't think you need to spend a lot of money at that position. One of the great things about having these young guys is they don't cost a lot, and we need to take advantage of that. Miles Sanders is the star at the running back position. He is. So, yes, you got to keep Sanders and Scott, and you got to get probably most likely let Howard go. I'm okay with it. Pretty much, let me tell you this. I'm pretty much okay with getting rid of everybody 30 and over that I can on this team. Okay, I would. I just would. The only exception, I'll talk about in a minute. But, so yeah, I would definitely let Howard walk, most likely, unless, like I said, it's a discount. When you look at your tight ends, I have spoken in the past about trading Ertz, getting a first-round pick, second-round pick. I take it back. I don't want to get rid of Ertz. After seeing everything he did, I keep him and Goddard together as long as possible, and so I'm keeping Ertz. I did talk about that before. So basically, the way I see it, you're down on offense. You're basically going to be losing Peters. You're going to lose Big V too. I don't think the Eagles could afford to keep him. If he came back at a reasonable price, I wouldn't mind just for depth. But he's most likely gone. I would say Alshon's gone. No, it's just Nelson's gone. I'm ready to turn the page to him. I got to tell you. So Nelson, Alshon, gone. I keep Deshaun Jackson. I want him to. I still think he could run. Still think he could play. I think he has 2 years left on his contract. He stays. Then, so basically, yeah, I'm gonna have Greg Ward Jr., Alshon. You're gonna have Arcega-Whiteside, who Howie said. Somebody said it during preseason. He looks like the rookie of the year. I don't know who said that. I don't believe it because he didn't never look like he had rookie of the year potential. That's craziness. But Arcega-Whiteside will be back. And we'll see what these young guys could do. But I think that you really have to get some speed at wide receiver, speed on the outside, and somebody to be an insurance policy for Deshaun Jackson. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about probably CeeDee Lamb this offseason because I want him bad. I know it's very hard to get him where he's going to go. But, I'll talk about that another day. When we look at the defense, okay, I think one of the problems that they have on defense, and I know some people are like hoping Schwartz goes to Cleveland or whatever. I'm kind of neutral on Schwartz. I think Schwartz is a good coach. I just don't love his system. But I think he's a good coach. You know what I mean? I do. So if he wants to come back, I have no problem with it. But one of the problems I think on his defense this year is we didn't get production from Derek Barnett like we needed. We didn't get production from our defensive ends. Now, Brandon Graham just signed. He ain't going anywhere. Vinny Curry's a free agent. I'd let him go. And you're going to have to figure out something with Derek Barnett. He's got to either turn it on next year or you got to consider drafting his replacement at some point. I don't want to do that this year, but he is a early round pick. What, 13th or 14th? I mean, he's got to be better than what he's been. So hopefully he can put some weight on, he can stay healthy, and he can get out there and get double-digit sacks. Because I think that pressure that defense did not get consistently really hurts everything else, okay? So on the defensive line, I want Vinny Curry. He's going to have to go. When we look at the linebackers, I liked Bradham. I was a Bradham guy. I wanted him re-signed. But he's like $10 million this year if the Eagles pick him up. You got to cut him. You're going to have to let Nigel Bradham go. You're going to have to let Camus Grugier-Hill go. They got to go. They got to go, and the Eagles are going to have to revamp this linebacking position. So both those guys, Grugier Hill and my man Nigel Bradham, got to go. They got to go. You have TJ Edwards. You got Gary, who I don't think is a linebacker, but you're going to have to go out and get linebackers. I would love to see them draft a linebacker on the first or second day of the draft. Well, maybe not the first day this year, but maybe the second day of the draft. I would like to see a linebacker, and then definitely sign somebody. As far as your corners go, Ronald Darby has to go. Gotta go. He's got to go. And then you have Jalen Mills, a free agent. I might bring back Jalen Mills. I know that he's very frustrating at times and he's not that great. But in certain situations, he is. And even if he's not starting, I would not mind bringing him back at all. I would definitely try. Then you have Rodney McLeod, right? You have Rodney McLeod. I think he's got to go. I like him. I think he's a good guy, but I think he's got to go. And if I've said this. I think you need to make the switch to Rasul Douglas to get a safety, or you're gonna have to draft a safety. But I would let Rodney McLeod walk, and then what I would do is I would insert like either a young safety, or I would try switch Rasul Douglas to that safety position because I think he could play it. Okay, now this is just an experiment. Who knows? Maybe you have to have an insurance policy for it. But I let McLeod walk. As far as Malcolm Jenkins goes, he is the one guy over 30 years old that I think you have to sign. I think you have to sign Malcolm Jenkins. He plays almost every snap. He's an important leader on this team. And if you're going to bring in an infusion of youth on this roster, he's one of the guys that has to be back. So I think the Eagles should take some of that money that they would pay McLeod, and they should get Malcolm Jenkins a contract, 2 years, maybe with a third-year option, something like that, and not too long, but at least a few more years, because I think Malcolm Jenkins is that important to this team. It's going to be fascinating. I would like to see Mike Groh going. I really would like to see him go. I would like to see him go because here's what I think. I think this team overall, it needs speed. It needs to become more of a vertical offense. Can Groh implement that? Can Doug Peterson implement that? I don't know. We'll see. But they need speed on the outside on offense. They need to be able to get chunk yards and chunk plays. You can't just rely on Deshaun Jackson. And then on defense, they need playmakers. The defense has no real playmakers. They don't have anybody that makes that big turnover late. Malcolm Jenkins can't do that. He can't do it like he used to. They gotta get some playmakers on defense. They gotta get some nasty boys on defense. They really do. And it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do. I expect a big turnover of this roster. I think we're going to get a lot of turnover, and I think this draft is going to be very, very important. And I got to tell you, I think the biggest needs are wide receiver and cornerback. Those are the two biggest needs. Don't forget defensive end, because we need to get better on that defensive line. That's our bread and butter. But it's going to be interesting, and that's kind of where I see this team. If I miss somebody, if I miss a specific player, just let me know. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it. It's kind of what I'm thinking. And with that said, this is already too long of a video, so I'll let you go. Take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.